Today we have an incredible story from a nurse. There are several, but the last one will definitely chill you to the bone. I'd like to know if something similar has ever happened to you and what you think about all of this. But first, I want to show you something. I got a package from Temu and it's much better than the last one. So stick around because I'm about to show you everything that arrived. Guys, Temu is having another super sale with products for 0 pesos, and to take advantage of this, you have to go to the search bar on Temu. I'll leave my code on the screen in a comment and pinned in the description, so you can find it easily and take advantage of all these products completely free. And while we're at it, I'll show you what I got in this second order, which honestly drove me crazy. First of all, there are cables, a lot of cables that I really needed, both for the microphone and for USB connections. Here for the computer, extension cords and adapters that I needed. I ordered this mask without knowing why, but it's really cool and I loved it. Made of leather with rubber and glass, it's awesome, honestly. I also ordered a pack of sports socks, which are honestly amazing. And now I'll show you the cherry on top, because I was honestly amazed by this last thing, because I got a piece of a tablet. It's not just a tablet, it's a 10-inch, maybe 10.1-inch tablet. It has excellent RAM and expandable internal storage. And this is useful for me because I can work outside the studio when I have to write. Maybe I don't want to be here. I could be in the yard, on the porch, in bed or on the couch. Honestly, more than surprised, because it has a good weight, it has a case, the image quality is very good and it responds quite well. Internet, obviously, so honestly I'm super happy and it's really good for me. So I can work sometimes outside the studio because I need to write or something. With this, I can take it with me and read. The phone is sometimes too small, so this is much more comfortable to use. And honestly, that's it. I'm super happy and I wanted to show it to you. Remember to enter my code ZJ5898 in the search bar. I'll put it in the description, a pinned comment and everywhere. This lets you access many free products. Maybe a mask or a watch, but there are many nice options. Friends, seize this opportunity and let's move on with this new video. I'll leave you the number to send your experiences as always. Let's begin with this case. I think you'll love it. Enjoy. I'm going to tell you something that put my life at risk. My name is Beatriz, I'm a nurse and I currently work at an important clinic in Buenos Aires. And here, beyond being a new, luxurious and modern place, no one could ever imagine the things that happen. From little things that can go unnoticed to things that freeze your blood. Because you never really understand if what's manifesting is good or bad. I have many experiences, both personal and from colleagues, but today I want to share those I consider most significant. Powerful, and they leave no doubt that a different plane exists, where these souls or energies wander for some reason and manifest themselves in very strange ways. In 2004, I started working at Posadas, a hospital that taught me everything and showed me the reality inside hospitals, which is generally unknown and often leaves you with a bittersweet feeling. But these are topics that lead in another direction. That year, when I started, paranormal things didn't take long to show up. Out of respect for those I worked with, I'd rather not mention names. But I remember very well when a co-worker during a shift experienced an incident that forced her to quit. I didn't witness the same thing she did, but I remember in detail everything she told us that time. The shift was going normally, without any complications. We had a somewhat rebellious patient in a room who literally wouldn't stop screaming, but it was within the normal range, you could say. The thing was that at a certain point we had to give medication to a man who was hospitalized with lung cancer. He was conscious and generally okay, but mainly on palliative care since little else could be done for his condition. Unfortunately, he was a very nice, kind man. Often I would stay and chat with him for a long time to keep him company, because his only family, his son, would visit briefly in the afternoon before leaving. He was alone the rest of the day and night. That night, my coworker went to give him his medication and, if I remember correctly, also to change his intravenous, and something terrible happened. According to her account, when she got to the room, this man was scared because, according to him, someone had come into the room and told him they had come for him. My coworker checked everything, even the bathroom, and of course there was no one there. Is there something that needs to be clarified? Many times, patients, due to the medication itself, can have different sensations and even visions of things that aren't really there. But there are other times when things get pretty strange. He told her that this person was a man with a horrible appearance and that he had told him to his face that he had come to get him. She tried to calm him, gave him medication, and checked his vital signs to ensure he was okay. And then she said goodbye to him and told him that she would see him again later. At that very moment, and I want to tell it just as my colleague did, something terrible happened. She started to leave the room and felt that something brushed against her side. When she looked, just as the patient said, there was a man, or as she described, a dark shadow shaped like a person. She saw it for just a second because it moved directly toward Jorge, the patient she had just attended to. My coworker turned around and the shadow was gone, but she witnessed something even worse. Jorge was having a heart attack at that moment. And without mentioning sensitive details, like the attempt to resuscitate him and so on, we couldn't save him. That night, this man died exactly at 3:11 in the morning. My colleague and friend was so shocked by this that it was her last shift. She resigned the next day. Because although in hospitals you are in direct contact with death all the time, seeing it in such an explicit way is extremely intense. And I think her reaction is understandable, because in a way, from that moment on, she even felt constantly unprotected. Many more things happened at Posadas, but I want to move on to the next part of this story. At a clinic in the capital, they told me when I arrived not to be afraid if I ever ran into the guy from 115, that's what they called him. The guy from 115. He was nothing more and nothing less than a patient who had died in that room after falling out of bed. It's something common that happens many times and can sometimes end in tragedy, like that time. It turned out that this patient would appear every time and always ended up entering room 115 furiously, the one where he died. He did nothing else, just walked as if unaware he was dead. And honestly, when I came in and they told me this, I thought it was some kind of joke because I was the new one. But I got a cold shower one afternoon while I was in the nursing office on the second floor in medical clinic, and I see something that catches my attention. At the end of the hallway, I see an elderly man who was walking very slowly, looking down at the floor, dragging his feet in light blue pajamas. I'll never forget that hallway. I see an elderly man who was walking very slowly, looking down at the floor, his feet dressed in light blue pajamas. I don't forget, female. The other bed was empty, so he shouldn't have been there, and I assumed he'd made a mistake. I leave the office, go into seat 15 and find that this gentleman wasn't there, and the patient who was admitted never saw anyone come in. Seeing him for the first time had a huge impact on me, mostly because of how clearly he appeared, and at any time, whether it was day or night. But the most intense experience I had happened at the clinic where I currently work. I'd also like to mention that we're forbidden from sharing these kinds of paranormal matters. People with a high purchasing power usually come here, so image is very important and they pay attention to these details. We must never forget that health nowadays is a business, and these places know very well how to make the most of it. And going back to the same point, it's a modern, sophisticated clinic with details that would never make you think that paranormal things happen inside. But I can confirm that it's just like everywhere else. Here, the energies, or whatever you call them, are always present and manifest constantly. Even mild events can include a stretcher moving by itself, a folder falling, or a shadow entering or leaving the room. Patients like Jorge report seeing people who aren't there, such as relatives, the deceased, or strangers. And there's something I've learned over all these years. When these visions are due to a pharmacological issue, there's not much to analyze. But in cases of visions without any agent that could cause them, I realize that these are moments, key moments, because the end for that person is practically imminent. It feels, or at least that's how it is for me, that when the time comes, they come for us and there's nothing we can do. 2 years ago, a lady was hospitalized here for a hip fracture. She had surgery, and during her recovery, several things happened that ended up affecting my life. In fact, my life was in danger. This woman, her name was Liliana. From her first day on the floor, she treated all the nurses and male nurses caring for her very badly. And before continuing, I should mention that the room was private, with a bathroom and a television. In short, these are rooms that look more like a hotel than a hospital. But the thing is, no one came to visit her. We never knew the reason. The only time we saw her daughter was on the day of the surgery and after the hospitalization. Then, she disappeared. Liliana was mean, really mean. But not only that, she was proud of being a witch. She said she could do terrible things without anyone knowing. Honestly, we didn't know if this was true or if she was just an unbalanced woman. Therefore, we preferred to keep things normal and neutral and tried not to bother her more than necessary for basic and mandatory matters during her hospitalization. But one night, everything changed while I was on duty, and something terrible happened. Liliana started screaming around 5 in the morning, and when I went to her room, I found her. She was lying on the floor. She tried to get up to go to the bathroom and apparently got caught on her intravenous line, and then she fell to the floor. When I tried to help her up, she attacked me, grabbed my hair, and pulled me. She blamed me for what happened and said a bunch of things to me that, honestly, I don't remember. It wasn't in another language. I understood it all, but it was just a sentence telling me the worst things. Just then, a colleague on duty arrived, helped me lay her on the bed, and I left the room. And from then on, I felt so bad that it was hard for me to keep working. But the worst part was that in my own house, I started to suffer, in my opinion, from that curse or whatever it was that this woman did to me. And to put it simply, for more than 3 months, I was suffering from the attack of something in my own house. At night, during the day, there was no set time. For example, it would wake me up by grabbing my arm, scratching me, or even biting my back twice. My mood went down, even though I'm a really cheerful person. My husband had no idea how to help me, and even for me, it was incredibly hard to make a decision. And soon you'll know which one. Another thing was that I felt sick all the time. I've always been hyperactive, and at that moment, at 42 years old, it was no exception. But I really had no energy. I didn't have the strength for anything. I couldn't get out of bed. Even walking was hard for me. I was in pain. Literally, I felt like I was dying. And one pain in particular was maybe what made me realize everything. I had a sharp, very strong pain in my hip in the exact spot where Liliana had her fracture. That day, talking to my partner and sharing what was happening, I instantly connected it to the night she fell, everything she told me, and then that endless headlong fall. She was no longer in the clinic because she had been discharged. Luckily, no one wanted her hospitalized anymore. Therefore, confronting her was not an option, although I imagine it wouldn't have been a good idea anyway. Finally, a classmate's mother, who was a stretcher bearer at the clinic, helped me. I met with her, and indeed, I don't know how she did it, but she saw something about me. I had 2 very heavy entities which were surely implanted by this woman, who apparently hadn't lied when she proclaimed herself a witch. She also told me that if I didn't get help, my life would gradually get worse, to a point of no return. The goal was to end my life. Luckily, and thanks to this woman, my friend's mother, I was able to get this off my chest. Honestly, it's still hard for me to believe everything that happened. It's really hard for me to accept that this woman, Liliana, was so evil and for no reason at all. Because I'm sure that what she did to me was just by chance, since my misfortune made me be on duty that night. Because if not, any of my co-workers would have had the same fate. I imagine that this woman spent her life doing harm to others, and her soul was rotten. And her ability, surely, to feel even the slightest empathy for others had completely faded away. Thank you very much for making it to the end. I'd like to know what you think about it. Or maybe, if you work in a hospital or clinic, perhaps you've experienced similar situations. I'll say goodbye for now. See you in a few days, and sending a big hug to all. Bye.